Welcome everyone. So I can see we're recording, that's great. We've got an action-packed session today. Thanks to Colin for organising it. And next up we have Thom Cochrane. I'll give a bit of a bio for Thom while he gets set up, so we might just bring that in otherwise. Thom's an academic advisor and senior lecturer in educational technology at AEST in Auckland, isn't it? So, and he was awarded an Accreditation Fellow in 2011. He's interested in communities of practice, social software, scholarship of technology enhanced learning, and he's an AJET associate editor, board member of VJET, RLP, EBR, IJMBL, and he coordinates the Acolyte Mobile Learning Special Interest Group. And he was recently accredited as a senior certified member of the Association for Learning Technology, the senior certified CMALT, so CMALT member this year. So it's great. It's a timely point to get you in to talk a bit about CMALT, Thom. So I'll just I can bring up that CMALT website if you like while you're getting ready. So I'll just turn my mic off and bring that up, and Thom, if you want to get started while I bring that up, is that the best?
Sure, that sounds good. Well, welcome everyone. Good to see a couple of names on the list that I recognise, and here in kind of murky Auckland at the moment. So Colin just asked me to share a little bit about my experience with CMALT. And unfortunately on this laptop my webcam doesn't work, so you don't get to see my lovely face. And because I joined via Safari, I can't share any applications because that's only available in Firefox and other web browsers. So I have put a couple of links into the chat that if you want to click on and have a look at. So the technology is kind of being a little bit anti-Mac, unfortunately. CMALT, for those who are not aware, is certified member of the Association for Learning Technology, and has been around for about 13 or so years. In fact, it's about the same length of time as what HEA Fellowship has been around. They both started at about the same time. They were both mapped to the UK Professional Standards Framework, which came out of the Daring Report. Thank you, Kate. And they basically map the core capabilities of a higher educational educator to those frameworks, the UK Professional Standards Framework. So I presume people are probably relatively aware of HEA Fellowship. CMALT has been around just as long, but there's a lot less numbers as such. So as far as numbers go globally, there's just over 400 currently CMALT certified members, and something like just over 100,000 HEA fellows. So it gives you a little bit of idea of the difference as far as numbers goes, and perhaps that kind of also reflects perhaps the numbers of people globally with the right sort of skills to get CMALT accreditation. I think there's also a difference as well in the support for both schemes. CMALT's always just been a little bit of I suppose one branch of what ALT does, and it was franchised to Acolyte about 4 years ago now, I think. Whereas HEA, basically, that's pretty much all they do. So it's quite different as far as approach goes. Thanks for that comment, Sarah. So anyway, certified member of the Association for Learning Technology, and they have just recently, so there's only been the one level as such, and it's pretty much been, I guess, mapped to Senior Fellow of HEA. It's portfolio based. It's based on two key things, really, is matching the key criteria, the core elements of a portfolio to your experience and evidence of that experience, and then reflection on that and what the impact of that is on your practice and on learners. So I guess we've kind of targeted CMALT right across the board. So in the UK, I think it probably has been focused more on sort of learning technologists, But what we're trying to be doing here at AUT is really open it up to any lecturer who's really interested in integrating technology into their teaching and learning practice. So I guess that's the key difference between HEA fellowship and CMALT. Obviously CMALT's interested in how you've engaged critically with technology in teaching and learning in your practice, and its theoretical underpinnings and its impact on learners, and how you go about designing assessments differently, etc. The other difference between HEA fellowship and CMALT is that with CMALT you have to be a signed up member of the Society of the Community, so that's either ALT in the UK or ASCOLITE in the South Pacific here. You need to be a current member of a community, of that community of people interested in technology enhanced learning. And CMALT is also not for life. You need to update it every 3 years. So your portfolio needs to provide evidence of continued engagement with technology enhanced learning. And it's not a once-off as HEA is. They have started to introduce another couple of levels of CMALT. So there's a question there from Kate, which is the early CMALT, but more like sort of, I guess, a fellow of the HEA rather than a senior fellow, so people with less experience can get on the rung. And then they've introduced a higher level, which is the senior CMALT, which is probably more closely mapped to the principal fellow of HEA. So those were both trialled, and I was on the trial for the senior CMALT, and that came through about a month ago. So you can see that on my site. There's a lovely badge at the top of it. Just scroll up, Kate. Basically, I just updated my CMALT portfolio, and you have to add obviously some extra dimensions for senior, demonstrate a significant either research or management in technology enhanced learning. So here at AUT we kind of offer both. We offer the HEA fellowship. We've done our own version of that called Ako Aranui, which is just trying to really make it culturally relevant for New Zealand. And with CMALT we have a much smaller team. It's basically myself and my colleague Vikal supporting that, and that's the second link. So the first link there is my portfolio. If you want to have a look at an example of a portfolio, the second link, which I'll just recopy and paste back in, is our support structure that we've developed for CMALT accreditation. As far as what we did with HEA and Ako Aranui, we've really put a cultural emphasis upon it, particularly around the Treaty of Waitangi as the founding document of New Zealand as a country. So that's the key difference there. As far as CMALT goes, we've pretty much kept it just the same. And I guess the reason for that really is it's portfolio based, and it didn't have an entry level point where you had to do actual courses as what HEA did. So what we've done with Ako Aranui really is developed courses to support the first two levels of HEA fellowship. The senior is portfolio based. CMALT has always been portfolio based, and part of that is obviously you need to present your experience, and therefore it is obviously about the culture that you're involved in. So we didn't feel a need to rebrand CMALT as such. And a lot of people in the UK have got both accreditations. They've got CMALT and HEA. We have a few people here that will be going for both. I put my efforts into trialling the senior CMALT this year. So what we've developed is a 7-week MOOC. We're calling it, well, CMOOC, we're calling it. It's really about connecting people. It's not about content. It's not really a course. But what we do each week is go through a core element of what a CMALT portfolio is, how to put one together. And during that process, it's really a professional development experience as well, so that people get to explore new tools. So in the process of going through the CMALT CMOOC, they're developing evidence of engaging with technology, and hopefully they're building that into their own portfolios. Okay, the CMALT one, I'll just put that back in. So we're aiming to do the CMALT CMOOC again in September. So everyone's welcome to join. It's free. There's a sign-up page. And basically, we just need some agreed collaborative communication tools. And that's basically Twitter, have some form of personal journal. We suggest WordPress for your portfolio. An email, and we suggest Gmail so that we can contact each other. And then we have a Google Plus community for discussion and collaboration. So we have a project bank, which Kate's just pulled up there, and this is where each week we try to get the participants to share examples of what they're putting into their portfolios or they intend to. So examples of practice. Yes, Google Plus still lives, and so does Hangouts, which actually is way better than Collaborate, but anyway. So each week you'll find some examples there of previous participants. We've done the CMOOC twice already. This will be our third iteration in September. And as I say, the benefit for our staff, which it's really focused on, is that they get to be part of a global community and to share in that and get that experience. The benefit for other people is there's not really a whole lot of structure around supporting CMALT portfolios, so joining with us in the CMOOC is one way to get some support in doing it rather than doing it yourself. So currently, if you look at the Escalite site, there's just over a dozen people in Australia and New Zealand, Singapore, Australasia who have CMALT accreditation, and we have 4 at AUT, so we're doing pretty well, and we've got about another 12 in process. So we're going to eclipse Australia very soon. And so you guys better get onto it. So there you go. There's the lightning overview of CMALT and the CMALT CMOOC. If you have a look at the CMALT CMOOC.wordpress.com site, you'll see how we break each of the weeks down into an activity to get people thinking through an element of their CMALT portfolios. So, Colin, do you want to throw it open to questions maybe?
Thanks so much, Tom. That was great. Does anybody have any questions? If it's easier to speak, feel free to use the mic, raise your hand, and I'll go to you.
So just a heads up, if anyone's got questions, I guess the reason why Colin asked me was that he was actually one of my assessors for my initial CMALT portfolio. So if you want to know about the assessment process, there's a rubric. It's downloadable off their site, so you get 2 peer reviewers who go through your portfolio once it's submitted and check it against the rubric and give you either a score of strong, adequate or inadequate, and then they give you feedback on what needs to be updated or not. And yeah, Colin was one of my assessors, so that's the link there.
Hi, Tom. It's Wendy here. I was just going to say that Colin did have an earlier question, which was, do you have any sense of the proportion of people holding CMALT who are teaching academics versus ed technologists or designers?
Not really sure. There is a database that Alt have, which lists everyone with current membership, and I haven't really gone through and analysed it that way. I guess what we've done is try to focus more on academics rather than just on learning technologists as such. But obviously, learning technologists is a perfect target group. What we're keen to support is, our general academics who have technology skills, because we see that as an important thing, for teaching in the 21st century.
Thanks.
I know Colin had one about what have you done differently in Ako Aranui.
Yeah, so with Ako Aranui, that's for the HEA Fellowship. It's basically a cultural alignment of HEA Fellowship with the Treaty of Waitangi here in New Zealand, and so really thinking through biculturalism, Te Reo, which is the Maori language, and its impact on practice, teaching and learning in New Zealand. And that's particularly mapped to, well, right across all levels, but particularly the first 2 levels of HEA Fellowship, where you need to do an accredited course to get either associate or fellow, and so those courses go very much into the alignment with culture here in New Zealand. Whereas the senior and principal are both portfolio based, and CMALT is portfolio based.
Thanks so much, Tom. Does anybody else have any other last questions, whether it was for Tom specifically or generally around around our our topics today? Feel free to raise your hand. I'll give you a quick minute. In the meantime, everybody thanks Tom for sharing his thoughts around CMALT and ATA and sharing the work that he's done on the CMOOC, which I'm sure you could join the next round when it comes around. I've sort of dipped my head in and out, but haven't sort of been too active in there. But it's a great course, just the way that it's designed to be much more like an open MOOC, sort of an old school MOOC, which is quite nice. So it's worth.
Yeah, and we've had several people actually do it multiple times, so don't feel you have to complete within the 7 weeks. It's pretty much impossible, really.
Well, thanks so much, Tom, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I'll finish this up and wrap up and finish off just end the recording. But please join us in the Moodle site to keep the conversation going, particularly if you've got thoughts around how all these things can be brought into the way that we, give ourselves some validation and show what we do to the rest of the world, or at least our institutions. I think that's really useful to have a think about how do we define who we are and show off our skills, because we have got such a diversity of skill sets within TELedvisors community, and we've all got slightly different roles and some similarities, but also a lot of differences. So another piece that we've been thinking about with TELedvisors is the use of badges. So we might talk a little bit about that in Accreditation. So keep an eye out on the discussion board, and thanks again, Tom, for joining us, and also Dominique, if you're still with us, thanks for providing some insight into TELAC.